Welcome back to the Backend Story. I'm your host, Rakesh. Today, we'll be talking to Madhur. Most people know him as an engineering leader at an AI-powered medical device company in the Bay Area. But today in the conversation, we'll be uncovering some of the stories that not many know about. We'll talk about how he grew into an engineering leader after once he was the quiet last bench kid at school. What are some of those bold decisions that he has made to make this entire journey a reality? We'll also get into how he moved from being an individual contributor to an engineering manager at Sony PlayStation. Some of his feelings when his team initially was unwelcoming of a new manager, how he identified the gaps and he worked on those and ended up building some of the most successful teams in Sony PlayStation. If you are in your early career, you are a student or middle of your career, or even someone who is curious to understand people's journey, you are at the right place. Maybe these backend stories will help you visualize how you want to pave your next decisions. Welcome back to Backend Story. Let's talk to Madhur. Welcome to the Backend Story, Madhur.
Yes,
I couldn't have thought of a better guest to start this series. So thank you so much for accepting the invite.
Yeah, I'm honored to be the first one.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm a engineering leader at a company called Ceribell. They are into neurotech slash medical devices side. So they are the first AI powered medical device company. So I'm an engineering leader managing the software engineering organization.
Today, we will discuss about your journey and we'll see how you got to the position that you are in today. Let's start with your college days, school days. How was your personality as a student? How were you in studies? And what are the few key takeaways from college or opportunities that you identified initially that you thought would help you in future?
College or even school, I think I was an introvert. I don't know how other people see me, but it takes a lot of efforts for me to socialize with anyone. I'm a last bencher, but I used to be very good at studies. I don't know, something happened, I believe in seventh grade. I started studying very good, and I was a very studious person. Not like all the time in the books or something. I used to have my own fun, but studies was the main thing. I used to be very methodical, like read and write notes, very much into like
Or what a first bencher would do.
yeah,
So
but
you-
at the
you did
sitting
as
at the
a
last bench. Yeah. So it was a little bit weird combination, and I think somewhere being disciplined, somehow it came into me, and I think that's how I was able to get good grades.
So did you identify any opportunities thinking that it might help in the future, or it just, you were going with the flow?
Yeah, I was mainly, I think it was going with the flow. And at the same time, I think, as I mentioned, like, that switch when happened in seventh grade, I came second in my class, and then they called me on stage, and I was like literally surprised. To this time, I still know how I felt because it was very unexpected. And after that, the recognition I got within schools and universities when people know you, that was also kind of maybe motivating, and also like visibility. Maybe that gave me opportunities, and I was seen basically. So maybe that made me going and chase grades, even though at some point in my life I felt like maybe it is not as helpful as we think, but I think that kept me going. Although it has helped me a lot. I mean, of course, like with the colleges and admissions and stuff like that. But apart from that, not so much, as we all know.
So did you do any internship in college? Because you joined Zinnia Systems, a
Yeah.
startup company in Bangalore. That's where we both met
Yeah.
first time. So did you try for different companies? How did Zinnia System happen, and what exactly did you learn in that 3 years career of Zinnia Systems?
So Zinnia used to come to our college and grab the toppers only, and for
Okay.
internship and full-time jobs. So I got interviewed by CEO Chiranjeev and everyone, and
Yeah.
got the internship, but didn't join. I regret that decision for sure. But I got called for full time, and that's where I jumped on the opportunity. But at the same time, like I got selected in like couple of other companies in the
Then,
college.
why did you choose Zinnia Systems over other companies that you got offer?
You know, Zinnia, they were in like Hadoop, like in 2011. That's and that's I wanted to get into that, and it was a short development role. I was not sure if I joined Cognizant or something, what kind of work I will be getting. I was a little bit nervous about that, but I had seen Zinnia from close, like with seniors going there, and
So that helped you, like,
yeah, so
because
knowing somebody helped me. And at the same time, there was one more incident. Like I was the vice president of our college technical fest, like computer science department,
okay,
and I used to go and knock every company door, like physically in Bangalore, to get funding for the fest, for to conduct coding rounds, and finding that, being a judge and funding. And Xenia was the one who actually funded one of the coding competition, and I got to know Chiranjeev and everyone in the old office in Bangalore. That is one of the exposure. The internship was one of the exposure, and seniors were working there, so I knew what people are doing. So it was kind of an easy decision.
So being in college, I have heard very few people volunteering to organize tech boot camps or something like that. How did that experience help you in your future, let's say in career wise, or shaping your some of those soft skills? Did it help in any way? Because many people shy away from doing such things.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped with, once again, networking. This is a little bit different, even though I'm not so social or something. Over the years, I have found that I'm really good at networking. I don't know how. It takes effort for me to do that, but maybe I have groomed that side of mine. And that was the first step, where I was in a very visible role and very much, and financial planning, asking for funding, that carried over. And even in my last company, when I was working at PlayStation, I did like a lot of these things. And that's how maybe I moved into management, because I think that helped me to realize probably I can do that. It was not a one day decision that, okay, I just want to move from engineering to management.
A conscious effort from being a backbencher and an introvert to be able to host some tech fests at colleges and then build that network. It's a drastic shift.
So I think everything was getting aligned. It is just about recognition of, like, okay, like what am I, and how can I use these skills to become something else. I think those things slowly helped. Looking back, I think if I put pointers, I think those were some of the things which shaped where I am right now.
Awesome. Later, you made a huge decision of quitting the job in Bangalore, where you almost worked for 3 years, right? And then you made a move to do masters in the United States. Why did you take that such a drastic decision of quitting a corporate job where you were earning and you could have your own life? You know, you were probably enjoying with your own money by then. So why did you unsettle yourself, move to United States, go through that grueling studies again? Why did you make that decision?
I think two things. First thing is, I was not able to imagine or understand my future, what I wanted to do. I think that was very evident in me, which I was trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm Xenia and I moved into another startup. I was doing really well there, and I was still figuring out like what does my future looks like. It has always been like I was never a planner as such.
Okay.
So, and second thing is my brother has been like um, what do you call, like a person who, nudging or maybe giving me directions or shaping. Although he, maybe it was also coming, maybe I don't know, maybe I need to have a talk with him, like maybe I need to talk to him, like maybe he was trying to guide me in a direction where he wanted to go. Maybe I don't know. I was trying to there was one phase where I was trying to prepare for CAT for MBA.
Okay.
During my college itself, and I joined Zinnia startup. I became technically so sound, and I felt like maybe in MBA not now. And I was like, then if not now, then what else? And then my brother's like, why don't you think about this? And it was a 15-day decision. In a month, I wrote the exam, and in the next 2 months, I already applied to colleges. It was very quick, and I got in the college, and I moved here. It was a quick decision, and also that made me, I was a little bit numb during that time. So I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah,
Maybe it was
it
good.
was really fast and
Yeah.
such a drastic shift that you were doing
Yeah.
one of the biggest decisions probably in your life.
Yeah, and maybe it was good for me, like a lot of people get nervous and everything.
Many people struggle at this stage whether to pursue higher studies, be it in India or any other country, right? Or should they continue and build up whatever the skills that they are developing? Should they improve those skills and grow further? So it's such a difficult decision to make.
Yeah, definitely brother has been a guiding factor because of brother, and also like some of my being in Bangalore, people are always talking about tech and working in tech or US or Germany, or there's so much of talk about that. It was not like I didn't think about it, but I thought, and I didn't imagine myself, because I come from a very very small town, and going to US was never in my, never even thought about it. I was like I was just imagining about Bangalore, and then we moved to Bangalore, and that was like the big thing. I was not even thinking about US.
So what's the significance of doing internship for someone who is graduating out of college?
I think one thing is the real experience of projects, but I already had experience. It's not like we were not, my code was not going to production or not, right? I mean, it was already going to production, being used directly, and also like, as you know, in Xenia, like we were managing 2 to 3 applications. It was different. So I didn't have any problem in like working in a production setup, or like how to code and manage the stress and incidents and all of that. That was all very easy.
Basic operations.
Yeah, that I knew everything. The biggest thing is like what is the culture of working here. That was very different, and that helped a lot. Of course, like with respect to opportunities, and when you have internship, like there is high chances that you will get full-time job here, more exposure, and here there itself. And it's not guaranteed as such. Like there are so many people who did internship and they couldn't secure the job because of various different reasons of the company and teams and everything. But there are a lot of people who got it too, and I was the one of the lucky one to just get a job there and continue. So I think that was having that confidence and having that maybe like assurance that it may happen.
People struggle to initially get that first job, first internship. So what is your advice?
Getting opportunities is depends on a lot of factors, not just on you. Is to just keep trying and doing something on your own and networking, going to different events. If you are in the Bay Area or in Bangalore, like there are so many meetups, and there are so many people who are working on side projects and stuff like that, which becomes huge in a year itself. Yeah, and as of now, I think internships doesn't have that much of, I'm not telling it's still, there's a lot of value in there, and with respect to company also has a value in investing in interns, and interns also have some value in there. But at the same time, I don't think that's the only way to get
Okay.
exposure to
So,
industry.
yeah.
And even colleges, like I remember San Jose State also has their entrepreneurship group, and it's a formalized group. It's not just a small student community or something. It's a formalized group. People are making projects. People are looking for funding. People are looking for mentorship. I think that's a great way to learn anything. As an entrepreneur, you learn so much, not just the technical side of things.
So you moved to United States. You somehow, you completed your masters and got internship and joined Sony finally, right? So now looking back, do you think the 3 years that you spent in Bangalore working for startup companies was a waste of time, or you could capitalize on whatever you learned earlier and then build it from there? Because every year that you spend here, probably you might think that I should have come 2 years back, I should have come 3 years back. Many people have that feeling.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I personally didn't feel that it was a waste of time, because you know how Zinnia was fast pacing, and you are accountable and you're owning a couple of applications, you are presenting to the client directly, and all of that. Those experiences helped a lot. I think because of that, maybe my growth was faster in when I came to US, although I started from scratch, because that's what happens. 2 to 2.5 years of experience, whatever I had in India, like it was very easy, not very easy, but like it gave me a very solid basics on whether it is college projects or even proving the worth in the company, whether it is in during internship, that I can do this thing, I'm valuable to the company. At the same time, after full time, maybe going to the next level or something like that, because you know I had a very high accountability for my projects or skills, because in 2 to 2.5 years in startup you learn very fast. And at PlayStation I could show that, okay, like I have these skills already and I need to move quicker to the next levels. I think that helped me, and this is just my experience. I'm not telling that if you come directly there is no value or something like that. I think I have seen many people still excelling the similar way, not like that. Here but looking at all of these things, one of the managers told me, and this was at PlayStation, and um, I was doing some random stuff like along with coding, whether it is being a scrum master or any of those things. And I at some point I felt like, do these help me in the future? And what he told is like, Madhur, like this, whatever you're doing, it will help somewhere in your life. And when I look back, that is very, very true. And the same applies to what I 2 to 2.5 years of experience what I had in India. Like, that definitely helped somewhere.
Once you joined PlayStation, did you have any cultural shock? How are your colleagues? How did you find your feet? You need to figure out how to manage your day-to-day work, different softwares they'll be using. So how did you build your connections at PlayStation when you initially joined?
Yeah, I think if I look back, I think it was more organic, and it was not exactly too different from what it was at Xena. It was more, and what also helped is like when I joined PlayStation, it was still working like a startup, or like a startup big company kind of thing. It was also like very quick, very fast, very everyone was working together and like that. So it was not too difficult. With respect to culture shock, I think it was more of, I never had a manager as such, in Xenia and other startups when I worked. Here it was more formalized. What it is to have a manager, what it is to have like a one-on-one, or the career growth, or um, what it means to be connected with your manager. I mean, like my not my immediate manager, but like after a few months, like we had a new manager, and then how he was able to connect with each of us, how he was able to get together as a team. What is team actually? I think that was it was not exactly a culture shock. It was just that I never experienced that before
The
because of the startup nature.
formal setup.
Yeah, formal setup. I think that was the more of a culture shock rather than a US culture shock versus India thing. So that was the main thing, and of course working with colleagues of different backgrounds. I think that was also very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started as an individual contributor at Sony, and you moved to engineering manager roles. At what stage do you think that, okay, you know what, this is what my passion is, or what triggered you to switch your gears and completely go into leadership roles? How did you identify that, okay, this is what I wanted to do? Because many people struggle at this crucial junction where they are doing a lot of engineering work. Now they have two paths to take, whether to go towards more specialist technical side, principal engineer stuff and that direction, or should I go towards manager? So how did you decide?
I think if I think about it, like one of the biggest thing which my manager provided during that time is to try out everything.
Okay.
And I also come from a mindset that I really don't care if I do QA, if I do development, if I do Scrum Master, if I do whatever, like the program manager or the product manager. Even like I think at the very young stage, I didn't care about the title.
Okay.
And luckily, I had a manager who was also kind of in that same wavelength and who could give me that opportunity that, you know what, if you want to try this out, if you want to try this out. And as in our previous conversation, as I mentioned, at one point I questioned myself, like, is this mindset is good or not? And that's where I asked him, like, I'm doing all of these other things being an engineer. Do you think this is helpful for me? And as I mentioned, like he told, no, this is helpful someday. And actually that helped me explore different areas um, of different titles. So just to give you an example, I was an engineer very early. I joined PlayStation in 2015 or something like that as an intern, started full time at 16, and by around 2018 I was like doing scrum mastering and stuff like that, not full time, but I was doing here and there, and I was trying to do plannings and planning the team projects and all of that, and that was giving me a lot of exposure. At the same time, I also founded a product within our space, and I was the backend engineer. I was the kind of manager for that project. I got one person to work on that on the front end, and I was also the kind of a product manager. So I wore multiple hats, and that was the opportunity which was given and which was pushed. I was pushed into that direction. I was like, okay, if you want to do that, just move forward and do it. That really helped me to figure out what I want to do. And I, at 2019 or something like that, I was pretty sure that I want to move into this direction. Although I had a phase where for a few months I thought I would like to get into product management, and I did try that a little bit, but I quickly pivoted to engineering management where I could find. So I think having a mentor and a manager who can push you in right direction, I think that helps.
So that is so underrated. Having multiple mentors would give you different perspectives, and they can influence you in making the right decisions.
Yeah.
Especially as I mentioned, your manager is such a nice thing to build that rapport with your manager who is encouraging you to explore all these roles. And then you pick whatever the role that you want to build on top of it and build your career over it.
Yeah, and that was very helpful as early career. You are not sure what you want to do. I think having that exposure to many different areas, that really helps a lot. I think it's one of the extremely underrated, and like I feel sad that some people don't believe in it. Yeah, I think there should be separate full podcast,
Podcast
for mentorship.
We'll talk about
I
it.
know.
So tell me one thing. Now you're a manager. What are a couple of things that you are never prepared for and you had to deal with it? Say, for example, managing your team members, right? So everyone comes with their own personality. So you have to switch gears and strike conversation with your team members. You cannot apply one formula with other person. So what are these challenges and how do you manage?
One thing I accepted that no matter whether you're a manager or a VP or CEO, this the challenge with people is gonna be there. It is not like once you are 30 years experience, then you are good at managing people. It's not like that, because everyone has different personalities and everyone comes with their own challenges, their own history and background, and you can never be prepared for anything.
Yes.
Yes, it definitely helps with your experience here and there, but still you still have to think in a particular way for a particular person. I think if you accept that challenge, that this is going to be your life, to understand and empathize with different background people, I think it gets a little bit easy. Not exactly, but like, I think people management is the most toughest job, I feel. Projects can be moved around and all of that, but and also it's a great responsibility, and it's a if I have 20 folks, means like 20 people's careers are in my hands, which means that, and anything, if anything happens, their personal life, their family, their kids, and everything else is getting impacted. So it is a great responsibility which you are having. I know, thinking about that, it is sometimes it can be daunting. I think that is always there. And with what I have, there's always a challenge, and you can always groom your management skills. And what thing I have groomed my own management skill is like how I can align people with business goals. People have passion, business or the projects have their own roadmap or trajectory or anything. If a person is extremely challenging, want to explore new things, put them into an ambiguous project, let them figure out, and I know that that person will get something. There will be a person who wants to have needs direction, want to move forward in a particular way. There might be a project which is going in a structured way or something, and then that person might be very successful in that. Aligning project vision and people vision together with their, I think that's something which I have cracked it a little bit, and I'm able to do successfully, like not 100%, but it usually pans out well. That's what I have. There are 100 other more things which I can do, but this is something which I'm surviving on that.
Yeah, so definitely if you don't have the knack of listening to people, understanding their problems, it can be their own personal problems also, not just at work. Probably you won't be able to do justice to their roles also, because they are struggling at one point without a proper guidance. As I said, the mentorship, right? If you don't mentor them, nurture them at the right times, probably they'll lose that motivation, and it'll take a completely wrong turn in building a successful team.
Yeah, and I as a manager, you need to provide those guardrails. You need to provide the mentorship, being a coach, listening to them. You have to let them free, and there are multiple things at the same time. You can do so much, and also it also, it's not just manager. Like I always tell my reports is like, it's their career. They need to drive that. I'm just a facilitator. Like, I'll not be able to make decisions for them. They need to make the decisions for themselves, and I'm just merely a facilitator
Orchestrator.
between those things. And a lot of people think that, okay, your manager should give you opportunity or something like that. I feel like it's a two-way thing usually.
Yeah. And while you were at Sony, you also did a leadership coaching,
Yeah.
right, at Brown University. Why did you think that is necessary, and how did it help after going through that course? What are the key learnings that you applied in your managerial role, which actually paid you dividends?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a history of why I did that. I have, I was already a manager for maybe 2 3 years, getting into it and understanding the whole skill set and everything. And you face a lot of challenges when you are a manager, like whether it is like you need to manage up, manage down, stakeholders, projects, everyone. And I had a very difficult situations or difficult conversations, difficult time in the team when I took over a team. Kind of most of the team was against me.
Okay.
So of course, it's a new manager problem. Whenever you take over a new team within the same company, other company, and all of that, everyone has to go through that because people don't like change. People feel uncertain about their future, their careers. It's a lot of emotions. Come into that play, and I wasn't ready for it, probably, and when I was thrown into it, I you know I didn't know how to manage everything. Like, how can I manage the emotions, how to manage along with emotions, like everything else.
Yeah.
How to get together people team, how to build that trust, how to build this team, and how can I work with them, because I have to work with them.
Yeah.
I cannot just leave it. And being in the leadership role, it's a lonely journey. Like, you need to figure out by yourself. You cannot go, I mean, you can go to your manager, but at the same time your manager has gotten you to do that work, and you cannot go to your direct reports.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are left with mentors or coaches.
Yes. Yes.
And when I tapped into it, as I mentioned, like, my kind of my first manager at PlayStation, like, our team was not doing that great during the initial period of time, and then he came over. Within 6 months, the team was turned around into a high performing team. And I was looking back and I was like, how did that happen? And I could apply, I wanted to apply the same thing.
So was these skills that, when you turned your team around, did you pursue your coaching, leadership coaching from Brown University during that time, or is it happened like after that?
It happened after I got into this, like, difficult situations and everything. And when in retrospect, I was thinking, what should I do? And once again, I had a mentor, and I talked to them, like, hey, this is, it's so difficult. Like, how do I manage? And during that conversation, I have what I talked about, like, my previous manager turned it around, and I had an agile coach that also helped a lot. And with that, I figured out, I mean, I want to tap into that, how it happened, why me as a engineer was ready to trust this coach and the manager and go along with their vision and achieve something. Why did that? Like, I wanted to ask myself, like, what part of me was ready to surrender to that kind of vision, and
Yeah.
that. And to do that, in that exercise, I felt like there was a lot of coaching and connecting with people, listening, understanding their perspective, making them aware, and all of that I found out. And then I was looking for, okay, how can I achieve these things? And that's how I got into coaching. And of course, like, that kept reinforcing coaching and mentoring, how important they are to people, and which people don't realize that much.
Yeah. It's really helpful to get such a guidance when you're actually struggling through it, right? And you probably identified, okay, this is a necessity for you at this point because of so many gaps that you identified in yourself
Yeah.
managing a team. And then now you bring in all these learnings that you had in this coaching journey, and then you could apply one after another and then see what are the results and then improve on top of it.
Yeah, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and also it is exposing some parts of me which you know which was maybe like I need to work on it, or
Yeah.
as a manager too, like emotional intelligence, emotional regulation is, those are like very very important things which I never bothered about it. As an engineer, you are working in your own thing. As a manager in the same team, I had good people around me, colleagues who were supporting and all of that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great and I like this job. And like when you move into a different team and then shit, like everything is
Yeah.
crumbling down.
You have to find your feet again. So you spent 8 years in Sony, in Bay Area, having so many opportunities, so many jobs, startups. Why did you decide to stay in Sony for 10 years? And what motivated you again at the 10th year that you should change the job?
Yeah, I mean, multiple situations. First thing is I joined, I mean, including internship, it is 10 years. Otherwise, it is 9 years if you think about full-time job or something. But one thing is I was growing in a good pace. 2016, I was a software engineer one, and 2021, I think I was a manager. So in 4 to 5 years, I became manager from SE1, SE2, senior, and then manager. I think that was a good trajectory which I had, and so I was enjoying that. Of course, growth was good. I was getting rewarded, getting challenging roles, able to explore whatever I want. I was able to found a new product which is the backbone of the whole organization and which is one of the most important component. It's a great achievement to have, and a couple of non-tech programs which I founded with some of the other colleagues. That was going great, and COVID happened, got married, you have visa situations and stuff. A lot of combinations made
It kept you busy.
Yeah, and I wanted to move into management, which I realized that I can move in. If I want to change my role, I have to change in the same company. It's it is it is possible to change your role from being a engineer at one company and directly going to a management in another company, but it's rare. It takes some different maybe skill set, or maybe different networking, different situations. I didn't have that thing at all, and I didn't know, so I wanted to move into management.
So it's almost like incubator within the company for you to build those skills.
Yeah.
And opportunities are anyways there.
Yeah.
So you just have to identify, you have connections, so you can tap into those. If you want to change your roles completely from one company to another, it's completely a new terrain now.
Yeah.
So identifying such companies which are hiring for such roles, and first of all, they should be able to trust you,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't have that proven track of skills of managing people, then definitely why should they trust you first thing?
So all that kept me at PlayStation, and has a great culture, great people to work with. Why I moved is because I think it was time, 10 years, and also wanted to explore new things, learn from new people, new mentors, new people to work with, new situations to be put into. And one thing which I realized also is that when you're in a hard, difficult situation, is the one where it will push you forward. In an easy situation, you are there, like you are kind of moving forward. But what I realize is, especially in management, maybe it applies to all other life situations, but if you are in a difficult situation, how you come out of it, how you create your self-awareness, work on it, what skills you develop and how you overcome it, how you come out of it, I think that helps a lot. And which I realized, and I wanted to keep getting those things to move forward in my journey, so that I can learn more. It's not like PlayStation didn't have all of those things to learn. Like I could get as many as I want, but I think it was already time. And
So you stay in the same level of your skills, you probably lose interest and you go downhill, or you invest in yourself in upskilling keep yourself motivated and always challenge yourself so that you build that career graph again. So upskilling is one of the most important
Yeah,
things for your career,
Oh,
career
yeah.
growth. Yeah,
I mean, you have to keep upgrading
that's
yourself.
right.
Yeah.
So now that you are at Cerebral as a manager, can you explain what exactly Cerebral does? What is the domain? So how are you applying those managerial skills to a new domain? It's a template where you can apply in any domain and build your team.
Mm, yes and no. Yeah, I mean, coming from entertainment slash gaming background to a medical device company is a lot of change. It's in entertainment or gaming side, it is the people are there for fun. I think it's a very vibrant community and it's different, right? I mean, like, a lot of users, whereas in Cerebral, we are dealing with life, and that's an added responsibility, right? I mean, if my software doesn't work, how it impacts the patient care.
Yeah.
It is totally different from if
Yeah.
your software doesn't work in in PlayStation. Like maybe you can go back to sleep, but
Exactly. If it didn't work, okay, so why not pause the game and then get back to it, right?
Yeah. In that way, it is very different. And with coming to the role, yes, I could apply. I'm able to apply, like, a lot of stuff which I have learned, whether it is people management, goal settings, or career development, and project planning, road mapping, and stakeholder management. You have some things in your back pocket, and then you work on it or refine them or adapt them according to the company, because this company is a 300 people company, and that was like, PlayStation is like maybe 8 or 9,000 people company. It's different. There are like processes set up already, and you get onto the train
Yeah.
and you work, right,
Yeah.
with your people. Whereas here, probably there's no train. Like, you have to build the tracks, you have to build the
Yeah.
train, you have to get people onto your train
Yes.
and take them along with your journey, and that is challenging. It is. I mean, both have different challenges. Like, it is, if you imagine, like, people are already sitting in the train, you are managing all of that
There's
there.
less friction there.
Less friction. People already know what to expect. Well, people already know when are we gonna release, when are we gonna, when are we gonna have planning and all of that. Here there is none, and I cannot work without a structure. It's need to have a proper structure, and that's setting up this whole structure and teams is another different challenge. So yes, I could take some things from my previous experience. At the same time, I have to do some mistakes also to
Yeah.
learn something new.
So as you mentioned, so being in healthcare, any production incident is almost like it impacts lives.
Yeah.
Such a high stake, high responsibility job. Now, with AI techs it's galloping so fast day and every day, how are you adopting AI in your company? Because there is no room for error here. So how are you able to trust decisions made by AI here?
I think one thing which we are thinking is adopting AI. There is no question that we need to adopt. How conscious are you in adopting? What tools are you using? What changes are going into the code, and how you are queuing is the key. And that's where we are focusing a lot more. Yeah, I mean, like, you can vibe code and do that. There needs to be 100 other checks too, so that to make sure that things are okay, things are working fine, not like having performance issues or any of the memory leakages,
Downtimes
or like, yeah, whatever, like,
yeah.
so we need to be like extremely conscious.
So now that you have engineer as well and you have been a manager with AI coming in, How do you think these two roles would transform in the future? Because a lot of code is being mostly written by AI now. Do you think having coding skills is still one of the most important skills for an engineer to have? Because you must be hiring also, right? So what are the key skills that you will be looking in those candidates?
In this whole transition phase, I think coding skills are still required, but more than that, I think the basic foundational software engineering concepts and skills you need to know, and you must know.
But coding, let's say, earlier days, it was like, okay, can you write this algorithm, that algorithm? So, do you, in this era, do you still think knowing these hacker ranks and lead code is still important for interviews?
I would say yes and no, because we are in a transition phase, and not all companies are able to adopt AI as fast as smaller companies or companies who are passionate about adopting AI and other things. So if we look at pure interview and getting hired perspective, I think it is still needed. But if it is still needed in next 2 to 3 years, maybe not. Um, I think we are in a very weird transition phase right now,
Yeah.
and still there are a lot of companies who still ask
What
those
is like from
coding
basics?
questions, and I think you need to have that, and that's where, like, even interviews, coding assessments and everything is also in a transition mode.
From a manager's point of view, how do you look at your team's evolution? How do you think the engineer's role would transform going forward, let's say in next 2 years?
I think engineers, this is my take, I don't know if it's gonna be like that, but I think they'll become more of an orchestrator. How software engineering and product management and how things will shift around, how maybe software engineering might need more of domain expertise too,
Yes.
or at the same time product managers also will start using vibe coding to kind of propose things, and they might come up with a POC.
Plans and
Maybe software engineering doesn't need to do a POC.
yeah.
Product managers will come with their POCs, and software
Yes.
engineering will make sure systems run perfectly, build POC, and then you can know what is possible and not possible. So I think that gap is slowly, I think, maybe decreasing.
So I want to understand the parent side of yours. So how are you managing your personal life with the kid and also able to deliver at work? And within your team could also be a couple of parents. How do you bring the team together? What are the considerations that you keep in mind?
I mean, the struggle is real, right? One thing which has changed in me is, like, different life events makes you aware of things. So I'm not aware of what parents are going through, what a new mom is going through, what a new dad is going through, and what are the parents like, what are their struggles, what are they juggling with. And of course, whether it is PlayStation or in the current company, anywhere, like, family comes first. Like, that is the biggest thing. I think we live for that. And empathizing with the whether it is new parents or any parent, with especially with managing sick kids, or, like, spring breaks and all of that, it is important to have that. So being a parent, I am able to connect with a lot more people as a manager.
Yeah.
Before, i would I was able to, but couldn't understand fully. When people is to say, like, okay, I have to drop my kids to daycare or get my kids to daycare, or I cannot come to office, or I cannot come to for this business trip because my kids are sick and all of that. I was, I used to be pretty chill about it, but now I know what it means. Now I'm, like, more considerate about it.
Yeah.
It's not about, like, okay, being okay with it. It's now about being okay, and at the same time, you know being empathetic towards that.
Now you're an engineering manager. How are you envisioning your professional growth?
I'm pretty ambitious, and in that, always prepare for my next role. Whenever I'm in this role, I'm always moving in that direction and going through, the regular path of the management route, and that is anyways there. But at the same time, being a parent, and at the same time, like, doing something of your own and going through those kind of challenges, I think that is something very important for me. And I'm a coach, and like how I want to build that side of me even more, groom that side of things, and what I can, with my engineering skills and experience, how I can blend it with my coaching and how I can move forward.
Okay, so now, so if you go back 15 years, what would you change in your career right now? All the decisions that you have made till now, how would you reshape it if you want to reshape at certain points and certain decisions you had to redo it?
To be honest, I don't want to change anything. I think this is my journey.
Okay.
At any given point of time, I made a decision in that time frame, in with that, uh, whatever information I had, and with whatever level of maturity I had. I think I made those decisions, maybe tapped into my networking side of things very early on.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very different, and maybe being more risk taking and working at random odd jobs, because every job teaches you something.
Yeah.
I think maybe I could have done that somewhere, whether it is India or maybe US, and maybe when I was more young, maybe I could have taken more risks.
Thank you so much, Madhur. This is what I had.
Yeah, thank you so much.